second here. Okay, says it started. All right. Hello and welcome. This is Trebor 7, and I am here with Rudi, who is a Neigong teacher in China. And we're just going to have a very casual talk about Neigong and whatever topics come up. And with no further ado, let's go ahead and introduce Rudi. Rudi, could you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, why you do what you do?
Hi, Trevor. Thank you for having me. Well, my name is Rudi. I spent the last 9 years pretty much in China, searching out for authentic Neidan, authentic Neigong teachers, and I've been quite lucky in finding quite a few really high-level teachers. Mostly a mix between Taoist and Buddhist teachings, but most of the monasteries that we go to nowadays are quite like that. And what I do is because of healing, because of being a doctor. So everything that I study is to improve your own health so that you can improve the health of others. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I study with teachers like Master Jiang, Master Zhou, a couple of others that aren't that well known in the West, so Master Shen, Master Wang, all with the ability to emit this powerful electric chi that a lot of people talk about. And all of them are very skilled doctors. So I feel it's quite a privilege to be able to learn from them and learn how to heal in the way that they do.
Yeah, and that's very cool that you throw out those big names like that, real casual and all. I mean, people who aren't into the field of this, that's an impressive, lineup of teachers. My gosh,
Yeah,
that's a big accomplishment in itself. But
I've been lucky.
let's back up just a little bit. Let's break down the word Neigong. Now, I know Qigong, Qi, energy, Gong, work. What's Nei Gong?
So Nei in Chinese just means inner, so internal, so inside. And the difference between Qigong and Neigong, if we go based on what's known in the West, Qigong would be more a fluid set of movements to improve the flow of energy within the body, whereas Neigong is to increase the amount of energy available to flow. So if you look at it in terms of Neidan, it's developing the elixirs and the the immortal embryo. And if you look at it in terms of purely Neigong compared to Qigong, Neigong is the more internal, active kind of process, whereas Qigong is just fluid, allow the energy to flow through the body kind of process. So both have their benefits, but Neigong is a bit more, let's cultivate more energy than the body can hold, or more energy than the body naturally holds without any practice. And that's something that we do to a pretty high level, is increasing the amount of energy that our body can hold.
Yeah, I love the sounds of that. And anyone else, my fellow practitioners, their ears just perked up real big. But we'll get into all that. You've got a lot to uncover here. I just had a couple more basic questions. What is the main intention of people studying Neigong? I mean, is it for health, or is it for empowerment, or why would someone want to learn to practice Neigong?
Well, it depends on what you want to do, but there's two kind of avenues that you can go down. So the first avenue is medical. So if you're a doctor, if you are practicing TCM medicine, you're doing acupuncture, you're doing chiropractic, anything like that, when you have the chi that we have, the effects and the results that you get from treatment are significantly amplified. And then the other side is the spiritual side. So there's a lot of people who want to, they want to delve into Buddhism and developing the spirituality to the highest level possible. And Neigong increases the amount of energy available in the body, but also increases the flow of energy in the body. So the people that are very interested in spiritual development, for instance, would get a really big boost from doing Neigong for a good 5 to 10 years, because the amount of energy available for the brain is amplified significantly, and stillness and the states of awareness that you can enter just become so much easier to achieve and so much deeper to get into when you have that steady flow of energy flowing into the brain. And I found that to be the case, and I've got quite a few high-level students who this is their feedback. This is like they're entering levels of stillness now that is well beyond what they thought was possible a few years back. So It's definitely a thing. I was reading a Dalbum's message recently, a conversation I wasn't taking part, and the guys were saying, well, Neidan isn't about, chi doesn't improve your level of awareness, your level of your ability to enter absorption, but we find the exact opposite to be true. So for a lot of people who are really into spirituality, they're not into treating patients. They're not into showing off with fa chi the way that we do. There's no need to do it. You can cultivate the Dantians, you can cultivate the flow of energy within the body, which will directly benefit the Shen type practices that people do. So the Buddhist practices, the yogic upper Dantian or third eye practices, all that gets greatly enhanced with increased chi levels.
Nice. Now you threw a word out there I'm not real familiar with, the fa chi. Can you explain what that word is and what you mean by that?
So fa just means to emit, and chi is energy. So
Okay.
there's a lot of people in the West that have their own practice that they call fa chi. But for us, fa chi only really starts when you can generate an electrical current. So up until that point, yeah, you can still emit energy. You can use your hands to heal people if you really wanted to. But to get to the point where you're emitting an electrical current, for us is the base level of fa chi.
Wow.
So there are definitely different levels to it, and there are a lot of people who consider what they do to be fa chi because it's emitting energy. And if you are quite specific about the meaning of the word, yes, they are fa chi. But for us and all the teachers that I know, fa chi refers to once you get to do the stage where you can emit chi as an electrical current.
I see. I see. So a newbie, a no-brainer, small-time practitioner, I might say that I practice fa chi, throwing chi balls or doing minor targets, telekinesis stuff.
Yeah, so that's still fa chi. We just don't really recognize that as a sign of accomplishment yet.
I see.
So it's we have a very different set of goals in mind. So
Sure.
for us, fa chi only really happens once you can do it, and it generates, or the chi is dense enough in your body and the channels are open enough that the amount of chi flowing feels like an electrical current. So still fa chi, whether you're generating electrical currents or not, we just don't necessarily recognize it and call it fa chi. For us, that is just energy emission as opposed to fa chi. I
Gotcha.
know it's the same thing. It is the same thing, really, but we
No, it
just
means
distinguish
something.
between the
Yeah.
two. Yeah,
No,
for us, it means something different.
exactly. And I respect that. But I was going to use it in just a slang way. And somebody calls while I'm practicing telekinesis, I can say I'm fotching around.
Yeah, I mean, you could, you could. It fits, really. It fits.
Nice. Um, so I had another question here. What was it? Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. What do most people do with this chi? I mean, what can we do with the chi? Why do we want to spend all these hours and change our diet and do all this work to have all this chi? What can we do with it?
Um, I think there are three groups of people, three types of people. So one person, they just want it. They just want to know if it's real. They want to experience it. They want to be able to show off at a party, probably. I have students like that, and it's very clear. Their intention is just to be able to do this so they can show off. And I mean, that's perfectly fine. I think for a lot of people, this is something that is quite cool. It's not necessarily the goal, so I'll explain that in a second. But a lot of people just wanted to be able to show off. And then there's a second group of people who are they're the doctors. So they understand how successful we are in treating patients. And part of our success, or a big part of our success, is the ability to use this chi and manipulate the energy flow within other people. And then the third line of people is the people who are really into spirituality. So they want to get spiritual development to as high level as possible. And there are many people who say you don't need the lower Dantian development. You don't need the chi development that we do. But the ones that do it, they find that, like I said before, the levels of stillness, the levels of absorption, the type of awareness they develop over time with the increased levels of chi is substantially more than what they could achieve before. So you've got your three levels of people. The ones who just wanted to show off, the ones who wanted to improve the health of others, the ones that wanted to improve the spirituality, and I guess there's a fourth subset of the people who just want to improve their health.
That's what I
But
was.
with health, it's always, especially for the first 10 years or so, in my experience at least, the health benefits that you get come from altered lifestyle. it comes from an altered mindset, an altered habitual pattern. It's not necessarily coming from the qi itself. So the pretty profound health benefits that you get from qi, they come after about 15 years. So it's not something that happens instantly, and it's something that I always say when I teach a seminar. I was like, look, I know you guys are told constantly doing qigong and doing neigong is going to improve your health, but actually it's the other way around. The more you work on your health, the more benefit you'll get from the qigong and the neigong.
I see. Yeah.
And
Nice.
eventually, you hit a tipping point where the energy flow is so strong and so dense that your health is quite robust. It doesn't mean that you're invincible. I always use myself as an example with my students. I got COVID. I didn't get sick at all, but then long COVID really, really hit me very hard. So I was at the stage where I could do a lot of things without any assistance, without any help. I was about as healthy as I've ever been in my life, and I still got hit by long COVID extremely hard. So unlucky, or what it may be, if it's a genetic factor, who knows. But despite all the cultivation that I'd done, despite the level that I'd reached, which comparatively, when I compare myself to my teachers, is still an extremely, extremely low level. I still got really, really unwell from long COVID. So people always think you're not going to get sick, you're not going to get unwell, but it's just not the case. Recently, I was talking to one of the Greek group leaders who used to visit Master Zhou, and is now visiting Master Wu, Brother Wu, as I know him. And he was saying recently he was sick for 3 weeks in a row because his daughter kept bringing a new strain of flu back home, and he got sick. We don't get as sick as other people get. You get a scratchy throat and you cough, and for a day or two and you're fine again. But we still get sick. I always find it so strange how people say, well, I've been doing qigong for 2 years and I never get sick, because it's not the case for us. It's not the case for Master Jiang or Master Zhou. These people with incredible development, they get sick, and I'm with them a lot. So I've seen them with a cold or a flu. I've seen them feel drained when they overwork themselves. So I always find it strange when people are advertising the fact that they never get sick or they never feel unwell, because all of us do. So
Yeah.
it's either they're doing something special that we don't have, which I do doubt that it can't be that much better than what we do, or they believe they should have this kind of physical immunity to becoming sick or becoming tired, and they're just lying about it, and that's what I think is actually happening. A lot of people are just they're portraying what they believe they should be, as opposed to just being honest about it.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, and it's a bad idea to think you're invincible, because I did go a long period of times where my family would get sick several times and I never got sick. But then when I did hit me, it gave me that humbling revelation you just mentioned there. We're not invincible. No matter how much chi and no matter how much raw foods and exercise you do, you're not invincible. But dang near.
COVID, COVID really.
That was a game changer, huh?
Yeah, COVID really wrecked me. COVID was a very humbling experience for me, because I was, like I said, about as fit as you can be, as strong as I've ever been in my life, and it crippled me. And it's been 2 years, and I'm still recovering from long COVID. So it's
holy moly! Wow.
Yeah,
I don't know that I ever got COVID. I went through a flu like I have many winters before. I didn't get tested. I did my normal fasting and drinking lots of water and sleeping, and 3 or 4 days, and I was back on my feet. But
that's really good.
COVID. But I take a lot of stuff too, supplements. Yeah. That's my thing. Yeah. I got a couple more questions I want to run through here too, if we can.
Yeah, sure.
So how long does it take for people to get, benefits or results, noticeable results, where they can do something, to prove to themselves that what they're doing is paying off? I'm sure it varies.
It depends on what you're looking for, really. But I'll use a guy who did Mopai for over a decade.
Explain Mopai.
So Mopai is the Indonesian Neigong lineage. So the Magas of Java, John Chang, the Ring of Fire documentary about the guy who could emit the electric current.
Yep.
So he had a few Western students. They then started teaching other Western students, and there were a lot of people who really wanted to learn from them. And I've always hinted to them and tried to explain to them, look, if you haven't had your Dantian activated, you're not going to make much progress. So um, it's been a long-standing kind of. I think they've turned it into a feud where I was just trying to help them initially. But this guy was doing the mobile practices, so very intense Neigong practices, very, very hardcore for over a decade. And he started learning from me about 6 months ago. And his feedback has been probably the most profound out of anyone, because he had spent 10 years doing practices that are meant to develop the Dantian, that are meant to develop the channels in the way that we do. But he never had any substance developing in his stomach. He never had any real sensation of a Dantian that is starting to develop. And since he's been here, his feedback has been nonstop. Every week he's telling me how this is the first time in his life that he can feel density within his stomach. He's feeling incredible amounts of heat. He can feel electricity. Oh, sorry, let me just get my cat. Xiaohu, come on. Oh. This is the first time in his life that he can feel, density in his stomach, extreme heat within his body. He can feel weight in his stomach. You can feel the formation and the accumulation of chi within the Dantian. And there are certain practices that we do where you can feel electricity in your hands. You can feel the flow in the Rindu meridian, so the MCO, the small hemicircle. They can feel these flows that they never felt before. So for a lot of people, within the first 6 months, they start to notice there's definitely a density to the stomach. There's an increase in energy. There's an increase in physical sensations, but the sensations are very, very specific. So we don't worry so much about having these very intense vibrations through the body, having these very intense visions or flashing lights in the head. We consider them to be deviations, but there's a very set number of physical sensations that you should be feeling that become more and more and more intense as you develop. And most people feel them within the first 6 months or so.
Nice.
The first time you can really demonstrate, there's a lot of people who do want to fachi. So that normally takes about 2 to 4 years of daily practice to get
there
to that
you go.
point.
You just answered a bunch of viewers' questions right there. Yeah. And I've noticed that too when I was doing Qigong. I didn't notice any benefits other than maybe some mental, and me getting out and getting the fresh air was good for me. But until it was probably almost 9 months into it. And then when I started doing the telekinesis thing, my sensation started with heat. And then I could start kind of feeling electricity, and then finally magnetism as I got stronger going on to it. And could you accidentally develop a Dantian? Because when I do my energy work, it seems like I'm pulling my energy. I picture it as my solar plexus, but I feel a little, like you said, the churning energy. You can feel the energy build up, and my TK usually doesn't work unless my energy's up. And whenever I move a target, I get a little tickle down in the sensation and where I picture the Dantian. Where is the Dantian located?
So I'll do the location first. So the Dantian, we don't worry so much about a specific point. So for us, as long as the sensation is in the front side of your stomach, so the front third of your stomach, if you were to divide your torso into three, between the umbilicus, so the navel, and the pubic bone. So anywhere in that region, as long as the sensations come from there, that would be considered the Dantian. Even though the Dantian's shape changes over time, it's not this tiny little ball that everyone keeps talking about. Qi can be condensed into a tiny little ball, and it will feel like this tiny little ball. But when you're in a resting state, the entire lower abdomen becomes the lower Dantian, and as you develop, the whole body just fills with energy. So the Dantians merge, in a sense, when energy just starts being packed up to the top. But whether or not you can develop one accidentally, no, I do not believe so. And the reason I say that is because for 9 years I was in China meeting thousands upon thousands upon thousands of students from every possible lineage available. And we've never had a single person who had a developed Dantian, or had even the initial stages of a Dantian, what we consider to be a Dantian. So
how do they measure that or decide that?
Based on the quality of your qi. So when you activate I'm just going to call it the natural Dantian. So your body has a storage area that's natural. We lose the ability to access it when we hit puberty. So when you reactivate that Dantian and you can store energy within it, it's integral to the meridian system. So when qi is in there, when qi starts to build up into the dantian in the correct place and the flow of energy in the body is correct, then you can feel it on the pulse. So the way we feel it on the pulse is the interaction of your qi with my qi. So somebody who doesn't have qi can't feel the qi in other people. It's the interaction that happens. So if I place my hand on somebody that has qi, there's a very distinct electrical current that would run up my hand, and it would interact with my energy as well. So you can tell based on how strong the interaction is, how much energy the person has. So you can judge, okay, so he, his energy, and it comes with experience, to be honest. It's not something you just know from the beginning, but you can then judge how much energy is in his stomach. And it's a pretty technical process, but it's very, very definitive and clear. So we've never had anyone that came that had a dantian at all. It's never been anyone who came with an active dantian, and we've had people from absolutely every lineage and name out there. Actually, I say that there was one person who came, one out of thousands upon thousands of people who had proper dantian development and qi, but he had come from a different master who did the same thing that we do, so he had help to get everything activated. So
yeah, he cultivated. It's not just
yeah,
going to happen. And this, when you do the
it doesn't
pulse
happen by
thing,
accident.
sorry, when you do the pulse thing, it's not them trying to emit chi. You're just feeling their pulse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
nobody can just like maybe pump it. I mean, I know it can move energy in my body. And if you were going to check my pulse, I would try to send all my chi to my wrist and cheat the system, but it doesn't work like that.
No, the chi is different. The chi is different anyway. So what we develop is called Jin Qi, which means true Qi, but it's a slightly higher version of the regular Qi that runs through the body. So the energy in itself is slightly different as well. It's a well-known term in TCM. It's a well-known energy within the body, but most people have very, very small amounts of Jin Qi, and they definitely don't run the way that Qi runs in our bodies. So the difference is quite noticeable. And for most people, when they develop the dantian, they build a container in the lower abdomen using yin qi or intention, whatever they do, and then they try and fill that with energy. But the problem with that is that's not integrated within the meridian system, so it doesn't show up on the pulse.
I see.
Yeah. So
a whole different pathway. I got you.
Yeah, if it's not the natural dantian, then we can't feel it. But also the natural dantian then goes through the process as you fill it, as you develop your energy levels, that pushes into the channels, and all the channels become filled as the dantian becomes filled. So there's no need to do 100 different practices. You just keep focusing on building your qi, and then building your qi and refining your qi to the next stage, and then working on the middle dantian, and then you keep practicing, and then eventually you start working on the upper dantian as well, which further refines your qi, and eventually you've got 3 refinements of qi above what normally runs through your system, and it takes on a very much plasma kind of feeling. So I don't know if you've seen any of the videos of Master Zhou when he does treatment, but what we do is we don't even have to touch the person when you get to a certain stage of development. You can, from a distance, emit qi, and for them it's an electrical current, but we're not touching them at all. It's going through the air. So it becomes very much a plasma-like energy, and it has significant density, and other people can feel it very, very easily if they were to hold their hand above your stomach, for instance, especially when you charge it up when you're busy practicing. It is quite interesting. I don't think I've uploaded any videos of Master Zhou doing treatment. I have loads, but if it's a simple Google search.
I thought he was in this one right here. No.
No, the videos that I uploaded is just me showing. So what happens on the videos that I've uploaded is a lot of the times Master Zhou or Master Jiang will say, the foreigners that can emit energy, come over and show the people that, we teach you guys how to do this. And it's a demonstration, but for us, it's also practice.
I see. So can you kind of describe what we're seeing here in these videos, or?
So in the videos is effectively me pulling the energy that I had stored in the dantian, for years and years and years, and then allowing that to run into the other person. But before we can do that, we have to open the channels in the other person as well, because we need this energy to ground through them. It shouldn't stay in their body. It does damage if you don't open them up sufficiently. So you can see the Go reacting quite strongly because it's a very strong current. But yeah, we have to open them up. So what you can see is me pushing energy up to the arm. Once it starts flowing into their body, it's an electric current. You can see my arm contract as well because the current is so strong. So that's not me just tensing. That is the energy pulling my arm straight. It's not something I actively do. I'm not actively tensing. It's just once that current starts, it starts, and it's very, very strong. And because
Holy
of
moly.
the way the angle is, you can see my arm better than everyone else's arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like a real life superhero, dude.
I know so many people who can do this, and it's so everyday for me that I really don't see it that way. But it's interesting. It really is interesting
I mean,
when you
from my
feel
point
it.
of view,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
a Westerner who doesn't cultivate chi. I do like hillbilly qigong stuff and low level TK. To me, you're like the real deal. I'm a nobody actually.
Well, no, I wouldn't go that far. It's just I've been lucky to get the right teachers, and I've been lucky to get the right help.
Well, let's
But
talk
this
about
is
that.
yeah,
Was it luck, or were you had to go through some type of struggle to get all the way to China? And I mean, did you
yeah,
learn Chinese? How were you able to do it financially? How would they let these crackers into these secret
yeah,
schools? I mean, come on, there's got to be some
yeah.
juice in there. You had to work for it.
It was the most difficult 9 years of my life, if I'm being honest. It was the most
That's what
difficult and also the most expensive. And it was filled with disappointments, and it was filled with frustration, and it was filled with nearly giving up twice because we just didn't feel like we're going to get taught all the way. When Master Zhang passed away, that was another huge blow for us because Master Zhang was brilliant. He was so good to me, and when he passed away, it was like, well, what do we do now? So it was extremely difficult and extremely frustrating. And this was actually with the last visit I ever did with Master Zhang before he passed away, and
the
I
one
had
we're watching
just
right now.
yeah, I had just reached the point where I could emit chi with help. So they have to help you. They open your channels for you because your channels aren't sufficiently open. And they help you a lot. But that was the first time I ever managed to do it, and that was my ninth attempt, I believe. So you don't see the first 8 attempts, and
Sure. Yeah, just like
yeah,
me. Yeah, we don't show that.
yeah. But it took me a lot of tries to get it right. But this
Interesting.
is just showing as you develop chi and as you refine chi to higher levels, how much easier it becomes to emit it.
And what are
And
those
this
people? Does that feel like a shock, like a low level, oops, I stuck the fork in the outlet type shock? Or, I mean, what are they feeling?
it feels like we used to have a game when I was a child where you hold wires and you can press buttons and increase the current that
Voltage?
flows into your body.
I've never had
Um,
that game.
it was a game, but it's a continuous current. It's not just a shock. It's continuous. It's just people kind of have that reaction because they don't expect it to be as strong as it is.
I
So
see.
it is a pretty violent current. It is extremely painful if they want it to be. Um, but
I
it's
want to go back to
it's
this.
yeah,
I have a question about this right here.
yeah,
What is there something physical coming out of your hand, or is there electrical current moving the paper? What
yeah.
exactly are we seeing here?
So this video is just demonstrating, because we can't see chi, the
Right.
effects that chi have on inanimate matter. So what you're seeing is little bits of cut up paper on the table. And when you push chi into the hand, you generate a pretty powerful, well, I would say it's a negative current because you can fake that with a negative arc generator. So it creates a very strong negative field in your hand, which then attracts the paper the same way that you would do it if you were using a machines like a negative arc generator. And it's just to show how this works. And I've had so many people say that I was using a negative arc generator. I was using some sort of Miyagi's electrical device. And it was very frustrating because I know it was a real demonstration. It wasn't anything fake, but
Oh, I can
it's
totally relate. Trust me.
it was so frustrating because everyone's like, "Oh, it's fake. It's fake. You're using this machine." I'm like, I know you can do it with that machine, but it doesn't mean we're using that machine.
Right.
And the
Now,
video was just very unfortunate
I'm a
because I
big
had the cup in front of it as well.
Oh, yeah, that was
Yeah,
a good one.
I put that cup down there because they had to boost my chi. So he was emitting chi into this cup of tea, and then I would drink it, and then they kind of consolidated into the Dantian, and then I did the demonstration. So I was drinking that cup of tea right before I did the demonstration, and I put it down in front of the table because I was super stressed. This is my first time ever doing a
Sure.
demonstration.
Yeah.
This
That's
video as
nice.
well is very interesting. So if you pause here, people would have to listen to the video. But there's at some point a very noticeable electric spark that happens.
Shall we turn it
So
up and try?
you can try, but you see me react, you see me pull back. Did you hear that?
It was like a little snap or something?
Yeah, it was like a little snap. It sounded like a rubber band snapping.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
a little snap. Yeah, I heard
yeah,
it.
that was a
Wow.
good 2 inch. And here, if you listen, you can hear. Ooh, you couldn't hear it that well there. And here he's purging negative energy from the beads. Again, everyone says, "Oh, this is fake. He's got something on his hands." I know it's not fake. I was there with him. I'm the one filming, so.
When you
But you can see
purge negative energy from something, what do you do with it?
you just push it out into the air.
Into the air. Doesn't matter. In
Yeah.
your own house.
Well, it depends on the level of negative energy. But I mean, this is so the amount of negative energy is so small. So it's not negative as an evil. It's just not what you want on your body. So you'll see smoke coming out of it, and that's just damp chi, sear chi, negative chi that's being pushed out. But yeah, it's not something that would harm you if it's expelled into the air.
So damp chi implies more steam than smoke, maybe.
Yes, to an extent, and here as well. So the videos, it's very difficult to see in person. The smoke is quite, but it's pushing out dampness, it's pushing out negative energy. But it comes up as a steam, as a mist, as
Vapor. Yeah.
yeah. It's very
Inter-
very interesting. Yeah, and I've
yeah.
seen those puffs of smoke being very dense. But
And
everyone has it. It's not anything. There's a video. I'll find it somewhere and upload it where this teacher is pushing, and that's Master Wong actually. So Master Wong's not very famous and well known in the West, but
mhm.
he pushes energy into his fingers, and you can see the steam coming out of his fingers as well. All the smoke. I wouldn't call it steam. It's like a combination between the two.
What the heck is it doing? Here. It may look a little better.
There we go.
My bad.
So this is a typical treatment, but that hurts. So he's not just jumping for the sake of jumping. It actually hurts. It's really painful. It's very beneficial to the body, but the pinky especially, it hurts. It really really hurts.
But he was doing this for some type of infliction, or he just wanted to experience it, or
No, so most of the time when we do treatment, we'll irrigate the channels. So we'll push chi into the hands to irrigate the channels, so to clear all the channels, and you do the whole hand together, and then you start doing individual fingers because the energy flows slightly differently. If you think the amount of meridians that open up into start and close into the fingers, so it clears the whole body through. So it's part of treatment, but a lot of the time Master Zhou will just have a kind of play with it because it is so intense and so kind of painful that he'll do a little bit more just so it hurts a bit, so people react, and then everybody laughs. It's a very friendly kind of thing to do. It's not intentionally hurting people. It's strong. I think is the right word. It's strong. And here he's even saying to the girl, "Okay, I'll just do a little bit," because everyone after the first time are like, please don't do so much. It hurts, like please. And then he'll always push a little bit more, so they react, and then everybody laughs. It's a very playful thing to do.
I see. But he's never harmed anyone doing that.
No. It's
Yeah.
not to cause harm. It's just being playful. It's not damaging. It's intense. I
That
think is the
leads me
right
to my
word.
next question. Is there anything dangerous about doing this? Like if someone had a heart condition, should they maybe not consider doing this? Or someone who hasn't been eating right for the last 20 years or doesn't exercise? Are there people who shouldn't dive into this head first?
There are plenty of people who shouldn't be doing this until they are healthy,
Okay.
but people don't want to do that. They want to start doing it straight away. So that's why when I developed how I want to teach and what I want to teach, was taking health into consideration as the main priority. So the first year, everything we do is health. Let's restore energy flow in your body, because most people come to me with deviations. Most people come to me with altered flows within certain meridians. So my focus for the first year is let's fix that. That's Shen, by the way, if anybody doesn't recognize who he is. Very famous Buddhist teacher in the West, very, very advanced Neigong practitioner. And here he is practicing the energy emission, the no-touch energy emission. And I had people say, oh, it's fake. The current is coming from Master Zhou's hand. He's got something on his body. But if you look at where the muscles contract, the fingers actually contract. It's not the wrist. So if the current was coming into the wrist, the wrist would do that. But you can just gently see the fingers pulling. So the initial point of contact is actually the fingers, not the wrist where he's being held. So it's little things like this. People always say, oh, it's fake, it's fake. But if you pay attention, you can see his fingers contract, not his wrist. And if it was coming from the wrist would contract. So it's
there's much resistance to the invisible and unknown in all societies. I'm wondering, why is China so more open to this? I mean, they're herbals and they're energetic and they're acupuncture and all of this.
They're actually not. They're not. I lived in Hangzhou City for 2 years, and then I was in Shanghai for 6 years. And I had never met anyone, as I say, 99% of people that I told what I do told me to run away. I'm being cheated. It's fake. It's not real. So even in China, Qigong and Tai Chi, that's all real, but this level of Qi is not real. So the amount of people who told me you're being cheated, you're being conned, it's fake, run away is 99.5% of people probably.
Wow.
It's just not a thing anymore. So I had a few teachers at university because I did a degree in medicine, focusing on Chinese medicine. And I had 1 or 2 teachers that I could really speak to about this kind of stuff. And the rest, they didn't believe it. It's fake. It's not real. So a lot of people in China do not believe this is real either. They keep telling me,
That's how we stereotype. Just like they think everyone in America eats cheeseburgers every day and is overweight.
Most people, they don't believe it. They don't believe it. They believe in Qi, they believe in energy, but they don't believe in this level of Qi and this level of cultivation and development. They think it is just stories.
So has Big Pharma taken over China too, or is go ahead.
I think it's about 50-50.
Okay.
Ooh, can you pause this video? I actually want to explain something about this video. So Master Zhou is smashing up granite here. And I was the one who picked the blocks. So he said, oh, go around and find some stones. And I was like, okay. And I went around and I found a little pile of broken stones. And I picked them up and I smashed them onto each other and made sure that they were actually nice and strong. And I brought them back. So I picked these stones. They weren't pre-prepared. They weren't anything. Because everyone says, oh, you pre-prepared them. But this particular stone that he's hitting now, the backside was full of concrete. And the concrete was all ragged and edgy. And when I was touching it, I actually scratched myself on my hand. So it cut me. And then he said, okay, I'm going to use this. I'm going to use the, I don't know if you can see because I can't see my picture anymore.
Oh, sorry.
He was going to use this side. Oh, I can see it down there. He was going to use this part of his forearm, which is just flesh. There's nothing there.
Right.
To hit a brick that was so sharp, I cut myself just holding it. And I was genuinely scared for him when he did this, because I was like, you are going to rip your skin to shreds. That is a really sharp edge of the rock, the bit of granite. And also the person who's filming this, so you'll see me in the video, the person who's filming this is actually, he owns a mine in Turkey. He does granite. So he knows granite really well. And he was inspecting the blocks and telling me what type it was and how strong it was. So there's nothing fake about this, but everyone says, oh, the blocks were pre-prepared. It's, oatmeal. And I don't know how else I was saying I was preparing it. It was damaged. It really wasn't. It's,
I know.
I found it. I found them and I gave them to this guy who does granite for a living. He inspected them and he's like, no, this is good granite. This is fine. And we try to smash them onto each other and we check them, because a lot of people that even they go there, they're still a bit skeptical. So they do test stuff. 100% legit, but I thought he was gonna really rip his arm open doing this.
Holy, you hear that snap?
Yeah,
that was legit. Looked like to me. Now,
And
is the,
哎，
the trick really putting the
是不是？
chi in the point of
因为
impact so you
这个
don't
很，
damage
这个
yourself?
比这
This
个
is
更
more
厉害，
massive.
这个
Or
是
is
这
the
个很
This is
厉害。
point?
more massive.
Sorry.
More message service.
就是
yeah, I'm just waiting. Okay. So yeah, so it's a very short-lived kind of ability there. So you have to charge the area, and then you have a couple of seconds to strike.
That's
So
right.
it's not a case of you are invincible everywhere. You literally charge the area that you're going to use for the strike, and then you have a couple of seconds to strike. And if you're too slow, you will damage yourself. I've seen people break their fingers doing this.
I wondered about that. Yep.
Yeah, so it's very very short-lived. It's a very specific thing. Charge the area, strike, and then you're done. Like afterwards, if he was to not charge up and try and strike that block, he would be bleeding. He would be. But for those 1 or 2 seconds, the chi protects you. I wouldn't even think I know how to explain what happens and why it happens, but the chi protects you for those 1 or 2 seconds, and then it's done. So very, very short-lived.
Yep. I got you. Interesting. That is absolutely fascinating. What do you say we take a look at your website and maybe talk about
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
process has to be done to get into this, learn this type of stuff and everything? Let me
Yes,
get on the right screen here.
So the one thing I think a lot of people really confuse with what I do is they think I teach electric chi. And I really don't. I just teach chi development. I teach the 3 Dantians, so working on the 3 Dantians, developing the channels. And the byproduct is electric chi. But it doesn't mean people have to do it. Fa chi is something you choose to do. It's not something you have to do. So I have students who have no intention whatsoever to emit chi. All they care about is improving their health and developing more and more chi for spiritual practices. And that is something that can be done as well. I've got people who just want to improve their health. And we have very, very good results with people just improving their health. But it comes at the cost of people having to make changes to the lifestyle. They have to change the diet. They have to do all these things.
I see. It looks like you kind of got it broke down here. Why choose me? The approach of teaching. That's one thing I like about you. I've watched your videos and read about you. You seem very open and forthcoming and generous and just truly a good person. And that shines through, man. We can see that, dude. We
Thank
see
you.
your passion and we appreciate your honesty.
I try to be. I try to get away from the notion of trying to make up small lies to sound more impressive, because it's so easy to want to just add that little extra to make it sound more impressive. But I'm very open about my struggles, about my shortcomings, about the limitations of what we do. And I think a lot of other people aren't. So even though I feel we do something that's I don't even want to call it special. I just want to call it, authentic, the way that it should be.
It's the name.
Yeah, it's the name. It's authentic Neigong. But this anyone can say anything is the problem, and anyone can write a book and claim magical stories. And this is the thing that I've kind of seen year over year is the amount of people, especially on Dao bums, that they write in a way that I'm some magic mystic with a special tradition, but I won't give you my name. I won't show any videos of myself. You just have to take my word for it. And it creates this unrealistic expectation of what should be happening. And it makes it very difficult for me because I really want to be honest. And I feel you can never be caught out lying if you don't lie.
Exactly.
If you're always lying about everything, you have to keep track of who you said what to. So I try and be as truthful as possible. And a lot of the times the truth just isn't all that beautiful. It isn't all that
glamorous
and splendid.
Yeah.
But it is the truth. It's the amount of people who are expecting, untold cities from different lineages where the teacher has never demonstrated a single thing. For me, I don't understand it. Like, I demonstrate the chi cultivation, and we do a lot more than what I show on the videos, to be honest. The videos only show a very small part of what we do, but it's the main part that we don't mind showing. So for me, it's all about medicine, but what can be achieved through proper cultivation is quite extraordinary. And we will be showing this in a bit a bit more of a controlled manner. So I have in plans a documentary with a bunch of doctors where we're going to do controlled experiments and controlled demonstrations and so on. COVID slowed that down, but we're eventually going to do that. We're eventually going to do that.
Now, you mentioned earlier, I think you just returned from the UK. So you travel around the world and talk about this and teach people this, or what exactly do you do?
Yeah, not in person. So it's been a really sad year for us, unfortunately. So my mother-in-law got sick. We had to leave China and go to Ukraine. So my wife is Ukrainian, to go and look after her. I was still staying in China because I was unwell with long COVID, and I didn't feel well enough to travel, so I stayed behind. But then it didn't go well with her mum, so I flew into to Ukraine as well. And then the war started in Ukraine, and we had to get out of Ukraine. And we're in Turkey, and we're attempting to move back to England. So all my flights all over the place is mostly administration. I didn't really have much choice in the matter. So I'm traveling a lot at the moment, but it is more for admin than anything else. I haven't been teaching this in person. It's only been online, and normally the in-person teachings is done in seminars that are normally in Asia.
I see. Now, you hold a degree. What is the degree?
So the degree is in majoring in acupuncture, but the way that the degrees in China work is you are a doctor, you're a full doctor, so you can work in a normal Western hospital if you wanted to. But my focus was acupuncture and herbology. So I studied TCM, and then they force us to study Western medicine as well. So we have to do physiology, biology, radiology, immunology. We have to do pretty much every single subject that a normal Western doctor would do. But we focus on then acupuncture, tuina, so medical massage, using herbs instead of pharmacology or pharmaceutical drugs. And it's a pretty thorough degree. It's really, really good. But the focus is Chinese medicine, so TCM, so using acupuncture, massage, chiropractic, and herbology to treat patients. So I think in anywhere other than China and a few Asian countries, I'm not really considered a doctor, which is a bit sad. But
how long did
it's
it take you to earn that degree?
5 years.
Yeah, you're a doctor.
I feel like I'm a doctor. I mean, we had to do. We were cutting up cadavers and dialoguing absolutely everything that we were doing. So I feel like if you're cutting up cadavers and pretty much taking a body that is complete and completely dissecting it, that's a bit more than just acupuncture in my eyes.
Yeah, me
So
too.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It
yeah,
sounds like you went through it, you did it, so you should be called doctor. But again, there your humility shines through. Anyone who's even close to having a doctor's degree or a PhD in anything would always say, "Oh, I'm Doctor So and So." But I haven't even seen your last name. You're just Rudi. You're like the
yeah,
cool
pretty
guy
much.
that knows some cool secrets from China, willing to share with anyone who wants to learn.
Yeah, and I think that what you just now said is a very big thing. Willing to share, willing to teach,
Yeah,
because for us it was an extremely painful process to learn everything, and we had nearly given up multiple times, just deciding that look, they're never going to teach us the next stages of practice. They're just not going to do it. It's pointless. We can just as well, call it a day now. And the only reason I kept going was because I was more interested in the medical side of things than the chi side of things. So I wanted to learn more how to treat patients, even if I could never develop the chi, because that was a big thing at one point for us. It was like we accepted that we wouldn't develop this chi. We wouldn't be able to do this without their help. It wasn't going to happen. So I was like, well, I'm going to focus on as much healing and herbal knowledge as I possibly can, and just go back for that and keep focusing on that. And luck kind of changed, and the attitudes of some of the teachers changed, and they just started teaching. And for some of them, we just had to pay. Some of them, it was just a cost basis. So a lot of people, they look at my website and they go like, "This is so expensive. This is really expensive." And I'm like, my very first trip to China cost me £22,000. That was my first trip, and I didn't even learn anything. I learned basic Neigong. I didn't learn much, but it cost me £22,000. So I'm like, if you study with me for 10 years, you don't even pay a third of that. And my first ever visit was £22,000. And then I had another 80 visits on top of that. So if you think the flights plus the costs plus the hotels, because we only stay in 5-star hotels as well, because, you know, it has to be fancy. It's been, and the cost of the degree, I did the degree purely so that they would take me seriously. I never intended to use anything that I learned at university for treatment, because what they do is so much better. So I did the degree partly because Master Zhang had passed away and I didn't really know where to go. So I was like, what can I do? Okay, let's focus on learning the basics of the medicine at least, so that when I meet someone else, they would take me more seriously. Because when I say I'm a student of TCM, they're like, oh, wow, you're a student of TCM and you speak Chinese. Oh, this is brilliant. And then they're more open to sharing and teaching. But it was difficult. It was many times where we just thought, oh, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Interesting. So, living in China, is the internet that much different? I mean, can you visit any website in the world, do whatever you want, just like everyone else can, or is that a myth as well?
If you have a VPN, yes. And if they want you to. So the Chinese government can pretty much nullify VPNs. And we've had that a few times. Normally, internet is fine as long as you have a VPN, but the speeds are quite slow. So China, whenever there's something big happen, will limit the connection speed between countries. So it doesn't matter what VPN you use, the actual speed linking you to other countries has been severely reduced. So there's been a few periods where the internet was really bad, but we could still visit sites. You
That's
just
why I
have to
mentioned
use a
it.
VPN. Yeah, you just have to
Yeah,
use a
your
VPN.
stream and video, everything is excellent. All right, we're
Well,
wrapping up
yeah.
to an hour, and I still have a couple more questions.
Okay.
Uh, as
Sorry.
you know, well, may or may not know, I create homeopathic supplements and have a website
Okay.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And I found that the use of Ormus helps me with telekinesis. Are there any supplements that help, or that you use when you're helping people do Neigong? Is there anything that they can take other than, improving their diet? I'm talking
Yeah.
like a dietary supplement of any type, an herb of anything that's helpful.
There are a couple of things that most people can take, but it's very much dependent on the person. So there isn't necessarily any herb, any Chinese herb that I would recommend that would necessarily benefit everyone. And that's the big issue, because once you say, oh, take this to benefit your practice, everyone thinks they can take it, and that's not the case. So most people can take stuff and get really good results from it. A good example would be Gui Pi Tang. So Gui Pi Tang is a formula that students use to improve their brain function, their memory for when they're studying for exams. It's the go-to herbal formula for when you're doing exams in China.
Can you spell it?
But so Gui Pi is Gui, and then P is Pi, and then Tang. So Gui Pi Tang.
Do you speak fluent Chinese?
Fluent is a leap.
Is it Mandarin or what is it?
Yeah,
What do
it's Mandarin. So I can speak Chinese to an acceptable level to communicate, and my medical terminology knowledge is fairly substantial because of what I do. I translate seminars a lot. But the last 3 years, I haven't done anything. So my Chinese has taken a bit of a dip.
Can
So,
you
yeah,
say, hey,
I'm not.
Trevor would like to apologize to all his Chinese viewers for not replying to their comments? Just kidding.
I probably could. It'd be broken. I could get the message across. It wouldn't be perfect Chinese, but I could, manage to say that in a way that they understood what I was saying.
Ironically, I do have some Chinese people who comment on a regular basis, and I have no clue what they're saying. And when I translate it, it still makes no sense. So I just don't ever reply to them.
Well, you can forward it to me, and I'll have a look for you.
Right on. Yeah, they're usually short and sweet, but I just don't know what they are. Well, man, I have to tell you, it was a pleasure speaking with you. And is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers before you go? Maybe tell them about how to best way to contact you and the whole time frame difference thing. I know it was a
Yeah.
struggle.
So
It's night for me, day for you.
yeah. So
Just
at
anything.
the I mean, at the moment I'm in Turkey, so I'm a bit more in the western side of the world. We can't go back to China because of the COVID restrictions that they have there, or the travel restrictions because of COVID. But I mean, anyone who wants to come and learn, like I said, I don't just teach electric chi. It's just a byproduct of what we do. I just teach proper cultivation. And in my experience, and this experience of my students, those who are interested in just health, those who are interested in just spiritual cultivation, this is a massive boost to that. But it takes time. It takes time. So I don't teach new practices every couple of months. It's, these are the set of practices you're going to do for the next 2 years. And then we add to that, and that's what you do for the next 2 years after that. So
I see.
it's not a case of let's do something new every couple of months. It just doesn't work like that. It takes time to develop properly.
But you're there
But
for people. There's some interaction.
yeah, yeah. So I have a Discord group and a Telegram channel, and people can message me every single day directly if they wanted to. We have a monthly hour, 2 hour long chat where anyone who has any questions, and it's normally just covering the basics over and over and over again because we always have new people coming. And every time somebody asks a question, I respond in a slightly different way, and I might give a bit more information because there is so much involved in these practices that you can't teach everything in one go. And when I try it, it makes everything very difficult. So I'm very open, I'm very approachable. We have a great community. We're about 100 strong students at the moment. So we
Nice.
have people from all over the world. We have people that have done everything else, and it's just a great community. And the feedback of health improvements, of life improvements, of stress management, it's wonderful for me, especially because my goal has always been to help people with their health. So if there's anyone who is interested in improving your health, but you have to work for it, it doesn't just come. Who wants to improve their energy flow? It wants to improve their ability to enter stillness. If they're interested in spirituality and they want to focus on more of the Shen type of practices, what I teach will really, really benefit that. And
Cool.
anyone who's interested, my next seminar, this is actually very, very convenient. I don't know when you're going to post this, but my next seminar is on the 19th. So anyone who wants to join and come and have a look, more than welcome. You guys are more than welcome to come and have a look. And I don't ramp up costs. So the cost that you see, the cost that you pay for the first seminar, and then after that you pay a monthly subscription, that never increases. So I don't charge additional money to learn the higher level practices. I don't charge additional money to, to do the monthly meetings. It's just that one-off fee which pays for everything for as long as you're with me. So you know how much it's going to cost, and I teach people when they're ready. Like, I don't hold back, and I really do enjoy seeing people get better and improving. So I
Now,
hope that, yeah.
when people join, will they have access to past seminars as well?
The seminar is the same every single time. So the
Okay.
level 1 seminar is the same, but people have access to every single thing that has been said from day one in the in Discord if they wanted to. So in Discord we have a range of different topics. So the Neigong specific, so the internal energy work channel, then it's the NEIGONGN channel, so the external energy work channel, the stillness channel. We have a TCM channel, the Buddhist practice channel. There's so many different channels that we have, and very specific topics, and people have access to all of that. So there's a good 20 days worth of reading in there if people have the patience to do so. But
Impressive.
yeah, everything is available. Everything is available. It's just a good community. It really, really is. And I feel the students that do end up staying, some people come and they say, oh, it's just not for me, which is fair enough. You can't please everyone. But I have a very high rate of, what's the word, students who stay. So there's a very small percentage that break away, that say, look, this isn't for them, because people are seeing progress. People are seeing development very, very quickly. So,
Yeah.
and health improvement, health is absolutely everything. It's so easy to forget that health is the most important asset that you have. And if you do not work on that, life can be very, very hard.
Yes.
It
If
doesn't
not
matter.
now,
Yeah.
definitely later. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how much money you have. If you're in pain every single day, that money means nothing. If
Exactly. Exactly.
if you're struggling with diabetes, or like, for me with the long COVID, I was bedridden for 6 months, and even going to the shop for me was an extremely difficult thing to do. So it doesn't matter if I was a millionaire or a poor person. It was just so
Hurts the
impacting on
same.
my life. Yeah, so
Yep.
impacting. You couldn't enjoy your money if you had money. So health is number one. And if people who learn from me at least go away understanding a slightly different understanding of diet, especially, and sleep and exercise. So the three things that I really focus on. This is how you should be exercising. This is how you should be eating. And there's a lot of things that are considered quite healthy to do that actually isn't healthy to do. And I've got feedback from students now saying, I used to do this because that is considered healthy, and I've stopped doing that, and all of a sudden I'm not sweating at night anymore. I'm not having these these kind of sugar crashes that I used to have anymore, that I had for 4 or 5 years, all of a sudden it's gone. I don't have the heartburn that I used to have anymore. I don't have the pain in my abdomen after eating certain foods because I didn't realize that those foods were causing problems. My bowel movements are way, way better than they were before. I don't have the constant, the aches, the pains, the diarrhea kind of that a lot of people just have on a daily basis, and they're just, well, this is just how I am. This is just me.
Right.
Their hands get warmer, their eyesight improves. It's incredible to see the differences that you get. And people say, "Oh, it's a Neigong," and I'm like, "Well, it's not the Neigong really. Like, it's too early for the Neigong to really improve you that much. It's just the changes in your diet. It's the changes in your lifestyle that is now allowing your body to shine through and heal up the way that it should."
Bless your heart, man. You're really doing a service to humanity. And you heard it here first, guys, or maybe not first, but you heard it here. If you're serious about learning Neigong, changing your lifestyles, improving your life, becoming a secret superhuman, Neigong, authenticneigong.com is definitely the place to go. And we're going to wrap it up now, but I have a feeling we may be back to talk more in the future if you're available.
100%, 100%. Once we've done the documentary and you want to have a chat afterwards, because I feel like there'll be a lot of interest once we've done the documentary and shown these things in a completely controlled environment with scientists and doctors present, there'll be a lot more people willing to accept that actually maybe this is real. So when that time comes, I remember the people, that were good to me in the past. So I'll definitely be back and do an interview about the documentary if you like. So
that would be awesome.
yeah.
All right, looking forward to it. Thank you for joining me, and thank you all for watching. Good day, God bless, and namaste.
Thank you so much for having me.